Hey guys, welcome to episode 23 of my Road to 120 Slayer series. This episode is going to be me finishing off double XP. I did a ton of Slayer tasks on double XP. This episode we have 8 more tasks and we gained a lot more XP, so I got lots of really good gains. Also, before we start the video, if you guys haven't checked out some previous episodes in this series, a full link to the entire playlist is in the description down below. So check that out if you're interested. Anyway, let's begin today's video. So starting off with our first task, we have 104 Lost Grove creatures. This is a really good task. You do get a lot of XP, but I do find that the task does take quite a while to complete, and the money isn't that great if you don't get a Cinderbane gloves or one of the Elven Ancient Ritual shards. So far I've only obtained one of those uniques throughout this series. I've probably killed around 1,000 of these Lost Grove creatures so far, and we got one Cinderbane glove drop. So hopefully we do end up getting another one of those uniques because they are worth a lot right now. I also decided to go with bulbous crawlers. I kind of do like these the most. It seems that they're a little easier than the moss golems, and I kind of do like that. So we're going to be going with the bulbous crawlers. Now here it is. We got our last kill on the task. It took around an hour to complete, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. So it did take quite a while to complete this task, but we did get some really good XP. As you can see, 490,000 Slayer XP. The loot was pretty average. We only made 2 mil in loot. As I said, most of the money comes off of those unique drops, and we didn't get one, so the loot really isn't that great. Overall, pretty solid task though in terms of Slayer XP. The second task we ended up getting for this episode was 201 corrupted creatures. So this is a really great task, probably my favorite right now on double XP, because you can finish it pretty fast and you get a lot of Slayer XP. So we are going to be going with corrupted workers like usual with my aggression potions, and I also have my scythe and masterwork. Now personally, I do think this is the best task you can do on double XP weekend, or at least one of them. It seems like you're getting around 700 or 800,000 Slayer XP per hour doing it. At least that's what I calculated. So that is really high, a lot higher than many of the other creatures. Mostly because it doesn't take too long to actually kill these creatures, which is a really nice thing about them. Also, they're pretty AFK. As you can see, I'm using aggression potions, and I don't need to fully pay attention when I'm doing it. The loot goes straight to the chest. Really just an amazing task to do, especially on double XP. We also did pretty good in terms of loot. We got 3 keys to the crossing, which is about 900k right there. So we're going to save those up for the Magister whenever I end up learning that. And then also in the chest, we got 1.6 mil, also 262,000 Slayer XP. The task took around 15 to 20 minutes to complete. So as you can see, it's a really great task in terms of Slayer XP per hour. And moving on to our next task, we ended up getting a Soul Devourer task. Now, earlier in previous episodes, I said I would do the Magister whenever I got a Soul Devourer task, but I haven't quite learned the Magister yet, so I'm just going to stick with the Salawa Axe. It's also pretty AFK, and you can complete the task pretty quick, which is something that I do like. So I'm going to do that. I really do plan on learning the Magister soon, and hopefully when we get another Soul Devourer task, I'll be able to complete the whole task on the Magister or something pretty crazy like that. But for now, we're going to stick with Salawa Axe. They're pretty easy to kill with aggression potions, scythe, and then also using deflect from melee. And so from this task, we ended up getting 2 more keys to the crossing. So that's another 600k and also 2 more keys to add to the loot tab. And in the chest, we ended up getting 1.6 mil, so pretty similar to our corrupted creature task. We also got 158,000 Slayer XP, which is pretty decent. The task took 15 minutes to complete, so another really great task to get. Now, onto our next task, we ended up getting Muspahs. Now, Muspahs, they aren't really the greatest XP per hour, but they do give some pretty good GP, and they're also really AFK. So they are always aggressive, so I don't even need to use aggression potions, so that is really nice. And I essentially just AFK'd them with magic, and then I picked up their drops every few minutes. So it was a really nice task to complete. I did it while I was working on video or something, so it is really, really nice. They also drop tons of notables. They drop dragon maces and stuff like that. So they are pretty good GP per hour. I would say around 4 to 5 mil per hour, which is really great. And looking at the loot from the task, we got around 2 mil and also 155,000 Slayer XP, and the task took around 20 minutes. So it is pretty good Slayer XP per hour, and the GP is pretty solid as well. So after skipping a few pretty bad tasks, we ended up getting a shadow creature task. Now we did this in the previous episode, and they were actually really good XP per hour. So we are going to go ahead and do this task. I like using the aggression potions some. Over in this corner where you're only fighting the best shadow creatures, you do get around 800 XP base XP per kill. So I'm getting double that on double XP weekend. So it is actually really good XP per hour. The GP per hour is really bad. They don't really drop anything special here, so that is the only downside about this task, is that the GP per hour is really low, but the XP, it is actually really great. So anyway, looking at the loot from this task, we got 221,000 Slayer XP, and then as you can see, the disappointing GP, 318k, so not too much. The task took 15 to 20 minutes to complete, so the Slayer XP is pretty good for that time. Now on to our next task, we ended up getting Living Wyverns. This is another really great task that I like doing. It also mixes things up since I usually do AFK tasks. This is more of an active task. You need to really pay attention. And I do have a pretty good setup for this task now, I would say. I've done it quite a few times, so I like using my Dragors with my Masterwork armor. Then I also use my Wormfire potion, which is pretty much needed, and my Holy Overloads, also anti-poison, which I did forget for this task. That is really helpful, but I usually do bring one of those as well. And then I use my Winter Storage Scrolls for my Yak to bank the bones, as well as a few magic notepaper. They are really fast to kill. You kill them really, really fast, so much so that you'll run out of summoning points, so you can't always use your Winter Storage Scrolls. So the task does go pretty quickly, and you make a really good GP per hour. And looking at the loot from this task, it was a 20-minute task to complete, and we made 3.2 mil. So you can see, again, it is around 10 mil per hour when doing this task. Also, we got 188,000 Slayer XP, which is pretty solid as well. Definitely a really great task, one I might even put on my preferred list, to be honest. Now moving on to our next one, we end up getting Airuts. This is one I haven't done in a while, and I contemplated skipping it, but it isn't that bad, and I was just killing these Airuts really, really fast with my Dragors and Masterwork armor. Now, I realize there is a better method to killing Airuts. You can use a cannon over on the other location of Airuts, which is just south of the Memorial of Guthix. I usually just go with Curdale's Dungeon, and I just use my Dragors. I find that is easiest for me, but I do know that the cannoning method, that does work pretty well as well. Now, also with Airuts, you do get a lot of XP. You're getting 800 base XP per kill. So that is pretty good. The only problem with it is this task does seem to take a lot longer than some of the other ones. So that is the only downside about it. And so this task took around 45 minutes to complete. And looking at the loot, the GP isn't good. Not really. It's only 2 mil for 45 minutes, which isn't really good at all. But we also got some pretty solid Slayer XP. I mean, 283,000. It's not good like a Corrupted Creature task, but it is still pretty decent. Anyway, moving on to our next task, we end up getting a Cluster Dragon task. This is a really rare task that I don't get often. And last time I did it, I went to Elite Dungeons 2, and we got so much XP. So that is what we did again. And shout out to KJ for going with me. It was pretty great. We went duo for about an hour, which just about completed my entire task. Now, this is only my third or fourth time actually doing Elite Dungeons 2, so I'm still not super great at it, but we did end up doing it pretty well, pretty efficiently, I would say. No deaths, so that was really nice. And we also got quite a bit of money from these bosses. As you can see, I was lucky enough to double my Onyx Dusts there and got 400k for that boss, so not too bad there. And the best thing about this Elite Dungeons 2 on the task is that you get so much XP. There's just dragons everywhere in the dungeon. and you just get a lot of Slayer XP. It's actually like about 1 mil per hour. That's how crazy this is. You get about 20 or 30,000 every time you kill one of the bosses, which is also really awesome. And you're also making a lot of money per hour. Elite Dungeon 2 is pretty good GP per hour. So overall, Cluster Dragon task, it probably is one of the best tasks in the game. Definitely one that I really do want to keep on getting. And so after killing the second boss, we end up getting another 450k drop, so not too bad there. And we're going to move on to the last boss. So actually, before getting to the last boss, you kill the Onyx Dragons and the Hydrix Dragons. These give so much XP. As you saw, that XP drop was 81,000. So I'm getting about 40,000 Slayer XP per kill on each of these dragons up here, which is just insane. This is why this task is about 1 mil XP per hour. These Hydrix Dragons, Gemstone Dragons, they're all really amazing Slayer XP per kill. So definitely, if you do have a Dragon Cluster task, I would highly suggest you do Elite Dungeons 2, just because the XP is insane, and you also get pretty good GP per hour. And here we go, we killed the final boss in the Elite Dungeons 2, so this is our first run. We end up getting 900k for that kill, so not too bad right there. We're going to go ahead and do another one, or at least start it, because I have about 50 dragons left. So we ended up not being able to complete the second run, although we did end up killing the second boss, and I cleared the rest of the dragons for the last boss. But we weren't able to complete the entire run because we had to go. But anyway, the loot was pretty good. So from the bosses, we made 1.9 mil, which is pretty solid. As you can see, the Onyx Dusts, we got a lot of money off of those, and this is only for 5 boss kills in the Elite Dungeons. Now, looking at the loot from the chest, we did get a lot of loot. Now, before I entered the dungeon, it was worth around 3.7 mil, so we only made around 2.8 mil for this run, which still is really great. It only took about an hour to complete, and as you can see, the Slayer XP I tracked was 1.05 million Slayer XP in 1 hour of work, so that was insane. Definitely probably the best task that you can get. So just to finish off the last 20 kills, I decided to head to QBD and do a few kills here, just to see what we could get. I have about a 500 kill count at QBD, and I'm still trying to get the pet here, so that would be pretty awesome if we end up getting one of those. Also, I do find QBD a pretty fun boss to kill. It isn't too difficult, and it's a boss that a lot of beginner players could try out, especially for one of their first bosses. So yeah, and you do get some pretty good GP per hour as well. So from our first kill, we ended up getting about 200k, and then just going through a few other drops that I got here. We got 93k in this chest, and then 150k from this kill. And moving on to our next one, we ended up getting 407,000. That was really good because we ended up getting an unchecked dragon, which is pretty rare. And then 350k from this kill here. So we ended up getting about 2 mil from QBD overall, which is pretty solid. I also had some skilling dummies left over that I decided to use for double XP weekend, since that's the best time to use them. We ended up getting nearly 400,000 XP, around 370. So pretty good. If you do have some skilling dummies, just make sure you use them. It's probably better to use them on the other skills besides Slayer for now if you don't have them 99, but since those are all maxed for me, I'm just going to be using mine on Slayer. And so anyway, that is going to be it for this episode. We did get some pretty good loot in this episode, around 20.9 mil, and then also over 3 million Slayer XP. So a pretty good episode overall. This actually reaches our estimated loot tab at 600.5 million GP. That is really high, but of course it is an estimate, so I'm really excited to see if my items have went up or down when I do sell them all. So that is going to be pretty cool. We also have around 33 million Slayer XP in total on the series. I believe we need around 30 million more to get to 120 Slayer. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. I am trying to get more Slayer XP per episode now, just because I want to try and get this series over with. I really do enjoy making the series. but I'm excited to start out some new stuff when I do finish this series. I want to do some bossing series and stuff like that. So that is going to be really exciting. Anyway, guys, I really hope you did enjoy today's episode and, of course, my Road to 120 Slayer episode in general. I am going to try and upload another one every week, and I probably will have a few double XP tasks in my next video as well, since I do have another day to do a few more tasks. Anyway, guys, I really hope you did enjoy the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.